let it roll. Stars and stripes in my soul. Steel toes on, boots in the gravel. Heartland truth on every channel. Open Bible, flag on the wall. We say what we believe or we don't talk at all. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell. Can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell. We back the badge, we guard the border. We love our guns and law and order. They try to shame every word we say, but we don't bow down, we just press play. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell. Can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the bell. Hey, we won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for getting with us as we start the day early. It's the final day of the first week of our 7 to 9 live stream here on Strictly Speaking Unfiltered. We've obviously made an adjustment the first three. So this, by the way, is our fourth week, not counting the days off for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, all those things. It's our fourth week. So we are, again, still very, very young and new in this whole online radio podcast game. But I'll tell you what, I love the trajectory. I love the momentum. I love the fact that you are here early and you have adjusted with me. And a lot of people are saying, hey, I can't get up that early. I'm getting a lot of messages on my email inbox and DMs from people saying can't do it that early, but I'm watching it in the afternoon or I'm listening to it and I pop it on my in my car, connected with my phone to my car, and I listen to it while I'm driving. And however you're consuming the product, thank you. We appreciate you very much. It is a Friday, the 9th morning of the first month in the year of our Lord 2026. Still getting used to saying that. And wow, oh, looks like my camera got bumped a little bit. I got most of Charlie is cut off there on the picture. You see those pictures behind me? This is so important to me because I met the art. You know what? I want to make sure you can see those all the way. I'm gonna step away and fix that for just a second. I want you to be able to see that glorious portrait of Charlie Kirk along with the one of President Trump there in full. I love those. I love these pictures all together. They're not pictures, they're paintings. And the artist, do I still have Ray up here? I think I might, just to kind of give you a little bit of a hint. And I'm kind of riffing here a little bit. I don't think I do, actually. I got to get Ray back up there. RaySimon.art. I'll tell you that. RaySimon.art. I met the artist who painted those pictures, those portraits, at the Strongsville GOP Christmas party last month, obviously. And what an amazingly talented man. He's a Northeast Ohio guy, and he's got these commissionings to paint these portraits of some of the most extraordinary figures of our time, but also conservative and Republican historical conservative paintings. He's just an absolute master. Those are not pictures. Those are not photographs. Those are not AI. This is RaySimon.art, and you should check it out. You're going to see the one that's behind me of President Trump is actually hanging in the White House. And the one of Charlie Kirk there, which is just extraordinary, is hanging up in President Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago. That's how big time Ray Simon is. And he's going to be doing one soon of Vivek Ramaswamy, I was told by Ken, his agent. And it's just a remarkable, I mean, the talent level. Go to RaySimon.art. That's all I can tell you. scroll through some of the paintings. Some of them, like I said, are more recent. Some of them are historical. You're going to see some stuff, religious things with Jesus. You're going to see, some Abraham Lincoln. It's just an extraordinary thing. Anyway, that's my backdrop behind me, and I just wanted to make sure it was squared away and let you know how important those things are. Oh, by the way, if you go to raysimon.art, and it's just like it sounds, RAYSIMON, Simon, raysimon.art, and use the promo code France, you can save 10% off any one of the paintings you feel like ordering and buying. These prints are extraordinary. They will dress up any room that you are thinking about. So thank you to people who are in early on the chat. Let me have a quick peek there because we're going to get very, very busy shortly. Talking about, obviously, our guest today. We're going to talk to Max Miller in about 22 minutes. We're going to be talking to Casey Putch in about an hour and 22 minutes. And I'm looking forward to those conversations for some different reasons, obviously. SRL is in early. Brian is there. JT is in the house. KC John. I know John. Jacqueline Hillis is in the house. Joanne is in the house. Sarah, Lisa, Roz. Who else am I seeing here? RH Ron. I'm not sure how to say that one, but okay. Lisa is in. Sharon is in. Love it. B Morgan is in. I love the fact that you guys get up early with me. Zelda, good morning. Charlie, good morning. Big Jake up in the house. DJ, oh, I know who that is. That's Donna. Good morning. And that's Mike right alongside. Donna and Mike right alongside. Love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you guys so much for getting in early this morning. Start listing, excuse me. Start listing your questions right now. What do you want me to ask Max Miller? I know you're pissed off because I think all conservatives are pissed off right now. Everything you see online right now is primary these people. 17 Republicans in the House surrendered to Hakeem Jeffries, surrendered and allowed him. Now, obviously, it's not a law because it's got to go through the Senate. And we don't even know what Republicans are going to do there. And then President Trump will obviously veto it. But there's a principle involved here. 17 Republicans surrendered to Hakeem Jeffries after the shutdown fight and everything else that happened over Obamacare. 17 different Republicans joined Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats to pass a 3-year extension of the Obamacare subsidies. I think I've got a page on it up here someplace. Well, you know what I do have? I've got a reaction from Tim Burchett, who has just seen about enough, and he is calling out. And by the way, of the 17 Republicans who did this, 3 of them, what are the odds of that? 50 states, 17 Republicans, 3 of the Republicans who voted with the Democrats here are from Ohio. Kerry and Joyce and Max Miller. And I'm scrolling around online last night and just people are screaming for the heads of these individuals. People are furious. Now, I had already booked this interview with Max Miller about a week or so ago. I said, "Hey, Max, love to come on and I'd love to have you come on and talk about the fraud, this, that, and there he is, to talk about the fraud, everything else that's going on nationally, everything that's going on in Ohio, about the agenda in Congress and President Trump and the Maduro thing. I mean, let's kick it all around." He said, "Yep, absolutely," because he's been a friend to me and a friend of my show for years. Max Miller is the one who arranged my one-on-one interview with President Donald J. Trump a few years ago. Because he has a great relationship with him because he worked in the Trump White House before he went to Congress. So I said, "Hey, Max, you want to come on?" He said, "Yep, let's do it." And then yesterday happened. The vote happened. And I thought Max is probably going to back out of this because he's not going to want to face the wrath of the people. And he's not going to face the wrath of people calling for him to be primaried. He's not going to want to face the wrath of me. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm pissed off. There's no other way to say this. I'm pissed. And I don't want to sit here and say I'm calling for somebody's head, but I might be calling for his head live to his face. But I texted him and his guy last night and I said, "Here's the video link to join us on this podcast this morning." And Representative Max Miller immediately responded and said, looking forward to it. He knows what we're going to talk about. So I give him credit for guts. I'm going to disagree with him, but I give him credit for guts. Let me share this with you. Tim Burchett has had just about enough of Republicans doing this kind of thing. Listen.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett. One vote tonight, a big one. It's called Breaking the Gridlock Act. It's an extension of the enhanced premium tax credit, and that would extend these COVID-era Obamacare tax credits for 3 dadgum years. The House voted to save Americans' health care toward the end of December 2025. But this thing it's going to cost $80.6 billion over 3 years, and I think it only affects less than 10%. It's a nightmare. What we need to do is fix the problem. We need to quit sending the money, letting these insurance companies who wrote the dadgum bill with the Obama administration continue to rip us off. And until we get some guts to do it, you're never going to see it. Trump's trying to do it, and people are just tying his hands. Anyway, thank y'all for sending me here. Hey, brother.
Yeah. So it is about getting some guts. It is about doing, and I'm sitting here just frustrated as all get out because of the fact that we just had a shutdown. We had the longest shutdown in American history, and we were proud of the Republicans for holding firm and saying, look, pass that CR, as is. Just an extension of the CR, and then let's work on the healthcare thing. And instead of working on the healthcare thing, now that they're back in session, how long they've been back in session? Days. Now that instead of working on the healthcare thing, they're surrendering on the healthcare thing and saying, all that stuff that the Democrats tried to do, we're going to let him get away with. Here's what. Let me share this with you. I was about to share Max Miller, some of his tweets with you. But let me share this with you from my Instagram page, because this was the biggest viral post I've ever made on Instagram. This is 2.6 million people have viewed this, and over 143,000 people like this. This was toward the end of the shutdown when I explained exactly what was happening that the Democrats were trying to do with Obamacare and the subsidies, and why it is so insane that we would allow that to happen. And like I said, this struck a chord with people. Like I said, it's got 2.6 million views as of now, and it's still growing, actually, even though this is from the shutdown. But this is what Max Miller and Dave Joyce and Mike Carey, among the three Republicans from Ohio, among 17 across the GOP Congress, did. And so just listen to this. This was very, very popular. All right. Why did it go away? Looks like we've got a little bit of a problem. Implements Obamacare. The Affordable Care Act, we are told, is going to start it over here so you can hear the whole thing. Obviously, it wasn't set up just right. Here we go. 6-year-old. Barack Obama in 2010 blows up completely, along with the Democrats and only the Democrats, the entire health insurance system, and implements Obamacare. The Affordable Care Act, we are told, is going to cut our expenses down for our health care to about the price of your monthly cable bill. Those were his words, not mine. And he said you can keep your doctor and keep your plan and keep your provider, no problem, except one problem. Shortly thereafter, the Affordable Care Act becomes unaffordable for all Americans in the lower to middle income ranges unless they have subsidies. So the subsidies, which are paid for by the taxpayers, go to the insurance companies, not to the insured. And the insurance companies raise premiums and deductibles to a level no one can afford. Fast forward to 2020, and Joe Biden gives us the American Rescue Plan in 2021. The American Rescue Plan, because of COVID, expands those subsidies from lower and middle income people to all people with no income caps. Well, so what did they do? They said it's only temporary. They put an end date of December 31st, 2023 on the expanded subsidies. But then that date came and they said, holy crap, when the subsidies end, no one will be able to afford the Affordable Care Act. So what do? We extend it to the end of 2025. And here we are, near the end of 2025. And what do we have? The same problem. When the subsidies expire at the end of the year, no one will be able to afford a plan in the quote unquote Affordable Care Act. So what is the solution the Democrats come up with? Shut down the government. Shut down the government, then run to every television camera that you can find, look into it and scream, the Republicans ruined your health care. The Republicans destroyed health care. And they think that shit's going to work. So that was, like I said, just an explanation that I did while in the truck. I always have my phone mounted so that I can record Bob France Road Rants whenever the need arises, and the need arose, obviously, that day. And by the way, and that's what we're going to talk to Max Miller about yesterday, because what they did is they just sacrificed all of that. Knowing all of this was the Democrats' fault, yesterday the Republicans bailed them the hell out. 17 Republicans bailed out the Democrats, got Hack Jeffries out there cheering and bragging about what a phenomenal job that they did and so forth. And it's I don't know. I'm not. This is going to be an interesting conversation. I give Max Miller credit because he's willing to stand up and do this interview with me one day after this vote, and people are calling for him to be primaried in a huge way. I'm looking forward to that. Super quick though, as long as we're doing this Instagram thing real quick, and I mentioned that one went viral at 2.6. This is about to be another million viewed video. This is one I recorded just day before yesterday, Wednesday. I think it was yesterday. This is 25 seconds. But sometimes I guess when people just need to hear it put plainly, they respond to it. The First Amendment guarantees us the right to protest in this country. It does not guarantee us the right to obstruct law enforcement. It does not guarantee us the right to obstruct justice. It does not guarantee us the right to create dangerous scenarios for our law enforcement. And any left-wing asshole that says otherwise can go straight to fucking jail. Yeah, that was on the way home from work on Wednesday, and not having it. And boy, this spoke to people. There's your views, 999,805 as of this morning. So it's about to be another million view hit. Like I said, sometimes things just need to be said. I want to get, by the way, into all of that. Vice President Vance yesterday held court. Maybe I should do that now and then come back to Max Miller in a moment. Vice President Vance yesterday held court and was laying it all out as far as the shooting incident in Minnesota and the media's narrative and the left's narrative and that's one and the same, of course, but their narrative that somehow, some way, this was a murder. This was a state-sanctioned murder. Tim Walz said that Kristi Noem was an executioner because a member of ICE didn't want to get hit and killed by a vehicle that was driving straight at him, so shot the driver. JD Vance has had enough of the narrative, and I think our own Ohio Vice President JD Vance should be heard here.
When I was actually walking out here, somebody sent me a photo of a CNN headline about what happened in Minneapolis, and this is the headline. I'm just going to read it. Outrage after ICE officer kills U.S. citizen in Minneapolis. Well, that's one way to put it, and that is the way that many people in the corporate media have put this attack over the last 24 hours. And I say attack very, very intentionally, because this was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day. What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile. What that headline leaves out is that that woman was there to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation in the United States of America. What that headline leaves out is that that woman is part of a broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job. If the media wants to tell the truth, they ought to tell the truth that a group of left-wing radicals have been working tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it impossible for the President of the United States to do what the American people elected him to do, which is enforce our immigration laws. The President stands with ICE. I stand with ICE. We stand with all of our law enforcement officers. And part of that is recognizing that you people in the media, not everybody in this room, but many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before, and everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourself. When I was actually
Vice President Vance speaking for a lot of us, maybe even all of us, with those statements, and as far as exactly how radical this individual was, you should know a little bit more about her, and a lot more information is coming out about her. She was essentially trained as an anti-ICE warrior. She was extraordinarily radical, and she, along with a whole bunch of her friends, and the awfuls, what do we call them again? The awfuls, affluent, white female liberals, AWFL, awfuls. She was one of them. She trained along with a bunch of her other friends and fellow moms at her kids' charter school, which was some sort of social activist, social justice training center. And this was all their job was. Their entire mission in life is to obstruct law enforcement, get in their faces, get in their way, blow whistles in their faces, harass them, block them in with their cars. Everything that you see happening all over the country where ICE is doing operations, which, by the way, ICE operations are being carried out because the law demands that they be carried out. The law demands that they be carried out. Okay? It's extraordinarily important that people understand that part of this. Scott Jennings on CNN. Do I have Scott queued up here? I might. I've got more from Vice President Vance there, who's calling these people out, but I think I have Scott Jennings too. And Scott Jennings on CNN last night was talking about the obvious here, that if you don't like the laws, if you don't like what's going on with respect to the apprehension and the deportation of illegal aliens in this country, particularly the most dangerous ones, if you don't like that, then there's a method for that. There is something you can do. A remedy is to change the law, to send your representatives to the Hill and change the law. But until then, it's illegal to be in the United States without permission. It is illegal, especially to come to the United States and commit more crimes other than that. And if you want that to be legal, go and fight it out on Capitol Hill. That's how it's supposed to be. You don't go and obstruct the people who are arresting the illegal activists, the individuals. And these people go out there and put themselves in harm's way. They put the agents themselves in harm's way. And I'm trying to find the clip. I'm not going to be able to find Scott Jennings now, but I do have more of J.D. Vance. And Vice President J.D. Vance spoke once again about the activists. She put herself in harm's way, and she put the agents in harm's way, and that's why she's dead right now. Listen.
Well, being part of the network doesn't justify being shot, but ramming an ICE officer with your car, that's what justifies being shot. It's not a good thing, by the way, but when you force somebody to engage in self-defense, it's almost a preposterous question. I'm not saying that funding some of this stuff justifies capital punishment. Nobody would suggest that. The reason this woman is dead is because she tried to ram somebody with her car, and that guy acted in self-defense. That is why she lost her life, and that is the tragedy. Now, there may be other violations of the law and other penalties that are associated with those violations of the law. For example, if you are funding violence against our law enforcement officers, I'm not a prosecutor. My guess is that's not the sort of thing that earns capital punishment, but it should sure as hell earn you a few years in prison if you're funding the effort to try to assault our law enforcement officers. I'm sorry, guys, what's going on here? You guys are meant to report the truth. How have you let yourself become agents of propaganda of a radical fringe that's making it harder for us to enforce our laws? You just asked me a question that presumed that the reason why this woman died is because she was engaged in legitimate protest. She tried to run somebody over with her car, and the guy defended himself when that happened. Well, being part
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. That is exactly correct. She tried to run somebody over with her car. I don't care if she's there if you're there to protest peacefully, as Donald Trump once said, to peacefully and patriotically make your voice heard, and you're standing off to the side, you're not getting in the way, and so forth, and obstructing law enforcement, fine. But you start obstructing law enforcement by blocking people, agents, vehicles with your car, you start doing that sort of thing, you cross over. You cross over from being a protester or an activist to being a criminal. And I said this yesterday. I'm tired of watching agents have to grab people who are obstructing and move them out of the way, only to have them run over and stand in front of the vehicle again, or run over and get in the way of the office, the agents again. They're pepper spraying them, doing everything they can to get them away just to move them back. And I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again today. Stop playing around with these people. Don't just spray them and then move them away and have them come back. Throw them to the ground. Do so aggressively. While they're down there, put your knee in the small of their back and put their hands behind their back and zip tie them and let them lay there cold in the snow until the paddy wagon or a bus or a flatbed can come and haul their carcasses away. If they're away means to jail, hopefully really, really packed and crowded in the holding cells where they're all shoulder to shoulder and nuts to butts and they can't move. And that's what I want it to be. There have to be consequences. There have to be consequences. If there aren't, they'll come back and do it again and again and again. And by the way, one more note on this before we move on and go back to the vote yesterday, the House vote on Obamacare subsidies. I made one more Instagram video that I want to share with you, and this was just last night. Oh, and it just crossed over 1 million, by the way, 1 million views on the rant that I did about obstructing law enforcement. But this one I just posted last night because I want people to know, especially the people who are furious about Renee Good being dead right now. Renee Nicole Good, the radical from Colorado who took her wife, roll your eyes, I am, to Canada when Trump was reelected, and then somehow navigated their way back and settled on Minnesota, which is where they were going to do their activism. There's only two reasons why she's dead. There's only two reasons. And I listed those two reasons on a very short Instagram post last night, and I want to share it with you. Simple. That's the message. And I stand by it. Donald Trump wouldn't have all of these ICE agents surging in this massive deportation that he was voted. By the way, they voted for. You and I voted for. The American people overwhelmingly voted for an electoral landslide. He wouldn't have to do this and make that campaign promise and then deliver on it if it hadn't been for the guy before him and his vice president. Joe Biden and his border czar literally intentionally allowed 12 to 20 million illegals come into this country. If they had not done that, ICE would not be surging in American cities all over the country. The deportation task force wouldn't have to exist. Tom Homan might be on vacation and put his feet up someplace instead because the border is controlled now. Trump fixed that. But the rest of this is, is literally the responsibility of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. If they didn't open up the border and literally roll out the red carpet for all these illegal aliens, we would not have this situation happening right now. That's the bottom line. President Trump is doing what he was elected to do, what he promised he would do, and Renee Good is dead because of Joe Biden. Renee Good is dead because of Kamala Harris. Every bad thing that happens with respect to illegal immigration and now targeted enforcement and deportation of these people, every bad thing that happens is on the hands, the blood-stained hands of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Never, ever forget that. And that's why I tagged it that way at the end. If you're not following me out on Instagram and Truth Social and Facebook and X and YouTube and everywhere else, please do so. Just look for Strictly Speaking with Bob France in some iteration or another, and you will find it. All right. I do believe I have Congressman Max Miller in the green room right now. So let's go ahead and bring him up as promised. And yep, there he is.
Justice. Hey, Bob, how's it going?
Good, Congressman. How are you?
Not too bad. No, you're just covering what's going on in Minnesota, and I just got to jump right in and just say one thing, because what I thought Vice President Vance said, and I'm going to read a direct quote. So if it looks like I'm reading, I am. But I think people really need to hear this. So I'm going to read the entirety of it very briefly.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a part of me that feels very, very sad for this woman, not just because she lost her life, but because I think she is a victim of left-wing ideology. What young mother shows up and decides they're going to throw their car in front of ICE officers who are enforcing legitimate law? You've got to be a little brainwashed to get to that point. I certainly wish she hadn't got there. I know there's an ICE officer right now who very much wishes he was not put in the position where he had to fire a gun to defend his own life. And the one thing I want to make abundantly clear is the peanut gallery will always be the peanut gallery, and that's where they should stay. But if you have never put on a uniform to serve our streets or overseas, you have no right to criticize what it's like between your life being on the line and another individual. I believe that officer took the appropriate steps. The woman was given a direct law to stop. She was obstructing justice. And unfortunately, she decided to get more aggressive. But I just wanted to thank you for your comments on that. And the vice president, I believe, nailed it right on the head.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've got so much more. I actually played part of his comments yesterday before you came on, and I'm going to play some more later when you and I are done. So I appreciate your comments on that. All right. I also appreciate you being here, Congressman Max Miller, because I probably wouldn't have blamed you if you'd have said, hey, don't have time for you this morning. You and I booked this last week, and I just wanted to talk to you about a number of things, just that are going on nationally. I wanted to talk to you about the Venezuela situation and Maduro's capture, and talk about, the fraud, the ongoing fraud in Ohio, Minnesota, and around the country. And I want to get the congressman on my new podcast. Hey, great. We booked it. And then yesterday, before I got a chance to send the video link that we're on right now, they just had a vote on Capitol Hill. And look at there, 17 Republicans voted with the Democrats. Max Miller was one of 3 Ohio representatives among those 17. There's no way he's coming on with me tomorrow. And you immediately said, looking forward to it. So I give you credit. You got a lot of, you got balls. We're not on radio. We're not on radio now. I can say whatever I want. That's what unfiltered means.
Well, yeah, that I very much like. And I never run from you, Bob, and I never will. And I
know, but you know that I'm going to come after you here, like a whole lot of other people are, because a lot of us don't understand this. And quite frankly, Congressman, a lot of people are pissed off. I want to share this a screenshot of your, actually, I'll scroll it, of your Twitter feed. I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Hold on. I thought I had you pulled up here. Excuse me. Yeah, here's the one. So I don't know if everybody can read this on the small portion of the screen that's there, especially if you're watching our show this morning on your phone. But Congressman, this is under your explanation that you gave on X as to why you voted the way you did. Here are the responses of your constituents. I am so over you always voting with Dems. You are not representing the people of Ohio. You need to be gone. You voted as a Democrat for an extension on the worst legislation that was passed only by Democrats. Today, you voted to extend it for 3 years. If you think the Democrats will do anything to amend their pet project, you are a fool. You useless POS. Why did we go through a shutdown, asshole, to stop paying for fucking illegals, rhino? 3 years is not a short term. You mentioned short term, and I'll let you obviously address all this in a second. 3 years is not a short term. Also, bet conservatives are thrilled that you just voted to fund abortions with our tax dollars, and so on. And then somebody else went on. I just played Tim Burchett a few minutes ago. He's livid over this as well. And he said, here's what a real conservative sounds like. So, Congressman Miller, you knew this was coming, and you certainly addressed it a little bit yesterday on X. Now I need you to address it here. Tell me why the hell we should give the Democrats any assistance and give Hakeem Jeffries what is being touted across politics and media as a huge victory because Republicans joined them in extending these Biden era, COVID era tax subsidies.
Yes, I'm happy to address all the questions very directly, and that's why I'm glad to be on your show this morning, Bob. And thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, sir.
I know people saw my statement yesterday that two things can be true at once. One, this is the Unaffordable Care Act, and in my statement, there was not one glowing piece about it. I said, right, that it is the worst piece of legislation in our country's history. That is true. But just remember who put this in place. Republicans never supported this piece of legislation. Democrats did. Democrats enacted the subsidies to end at this year. What Republicans did, in my opinion, working with Senator Moreno, who came down working with the Problem Solvers Caucus yesterday, encouraged more than 20 House Republicans to support this bill. What this bill will end up doing, which has already failed in the Senate a couple of times, is to give Senator Moreno the opportunity to work on a good piece of legislation and make that progress. Now, we've been in these bicameral talks. I know a lot of this isn't public, but there's a reason why I did it. When we talk about people, when 22,000 people in our district, okay, in terms of rising premium healthcare costs, their premiums are going to go up regardless. They're going to continue to go to the same hospitals, use our same systems, and it is going to cost us even more money on the back end. And even to be more direct, Bob, since 2018, since Republicans tried to repeal and replace Obamacare, then lost 50 seats, there has not been one of those conservative fighters that you've mentioned that have put forward a better healthcare plan who have been here since 2018 to actually get something done. A lot of these people like to complain. They like to, go ahead and throw blame on other people. But not one person that you've mentioned who I've worked with has put together a better comprehensive game plan to go ahead and to get the American people on a better healthcare system. Where we are right now, and I'm not saying I like it and I don't, I hate it. But right now, this is the best alternative to take care of the American people. This isn't taking care of Somalis in Minnesota. This isn't taking care of Somalis in Columbus. We already removed all of the illegal immigrants off Medicaid during the One Big Beautiful Bill. We already put work requirements in for people who are taking advantage of the system. This is right now the alternative that is going to give Senator Moreno, one of the most conservative senators that I've seen since he's been there, the opportunity to work on this piece of legislation. So there are multiple reasons that go into this. I wish it was as easy as just getting rid of it.
If I may jump in on that part, work needs to be done, but you just guaranteed that they don't have to work on it now because they've got this. All we're doing is a wing and a prayer here. If the Senate follows suit here and does what you guys did in the House yesterday, 3 years of no reformed subsidies, no reforms in this.
But Bob, I don't mean to interject, but that's not true. That's not true because what the Senate will do. So what the Senate will do, because we've been in these talks, so the Senate will go ahead and take the discharge petition that was put on the floor yesterday, and they're going to amend it. Some of the talks that are going in on the Senate would be amending the caps. Right now, one of the biggest problems as to why premiums keep on going up is because there's no caps put in place. Yeah. We can also look at other ways.
Wait, if I may, was that addressed in what you guys passed yesterday? Were caps put in place?
No, that is going to be done in the Senate. I mean, it has to be done in the Senate. We don't have enough support on either side, right, in order to get a better piece of legislation that will deliver on lower premiums. But right now, Bob, at the end of the day, it's as simple as this. It is not the fix. It isn't the solution, and it's not going to be a 3-year problem. I don't think anyone, including myself, who sits on a committee of jurisdiction is going to sit on my hands and say this is good enough. Even in my statement, I've said I've introduced 2 pieces of legislation. I'm not just sitting here not introducing things, like other colleagues and saying, well, this isn't going to work, but I don't have a plan to fix it. We have more than plans. We have to come together. We have a 3-year window. It's our goal to get this done under 3 years. That's a marker, and that marker will get us there. I feel confident. I do, but it is a complicated, scary issue to talk about. I understand that.
Well, it is, and it's also it's frustrating because we're in a midterm year, and 11 months from now or 10 months from now, you guys may no longer have the majority. There may be no appetite whatsoever to change what needs to be changed right now if the Democrats take over. And if the Democrats take over in, win in November and take over next January, President Trump's entire second 2 years are moot. He can do nothing.
And that I completely agree with you. But on the flip side, wouldn't you want to pass something like a 3-year extension as opposed to an indefinite extension if the Democrats were to take the majority? Because that's what's going to happen if they take the majority and if they take the Senate. We're not going to be talking about a 3-year extension, which I know some of our constituents are upset with. You're going to be talking about an indefinite extension. Right now, by us extending it to 3 years, I wish it would have only been one, and I want to make that clear, but it's 3. We are preserving these programs for, once again, the American people and the American people only. If the Democrats take control and they take control of the majority, possibly, as you have said, you're going to go from a 3-year being very upset and frustrated as you are now to an indefinite extension and Medicare and Medicaid for all. And that is the world that I am trying to avoid to protect our country's pocketbook. And so as we have these conversations, we really do try to flush all of this out at a very unfiltered level to make sure that we are trying to stop the damage to the best of our ability.
Well, if you frame it, is it 3 years or indefinite? If that's the binary choice, then of course we would say, well, let's have an end. But Congressman, there is no damned end. It was supposed to end in 2023. And what did they do? They extended it to 2025. Now it's going to be extended to 2028, 3 years later. By the way, a presidential election cycle. What makes you think they're ever going to, they're not, when it comes to the next sunset date and the appropriate reforms haven't been agreed upon, the caps haven't been put in place, the fraud hasn't been wiped out. What makes you think they're not going to say, we're still in a really bad place here? Because we saw this movie already. We saw it in 23, and we're seeing it now. Now we're going to see it again in 2028. That's why the American people want to say, let's go get it done now. And if there's pain for people in the short term, that ratchets up the pressure on you, all of your colleagues, both chambers, to get it done right and get it done quickly. And put the onus on the people where it belongs. We won the shutdown fight, Congressman, because we're right. Because and you said it in your opening statement to me. Democrats made this happen 15 years ago. Only Democrats. Democrats are the ones who did it in 23 and 25 with the extension of these subsidies. So let them soak in the blame of all of this. And when people's premiums rise, let them blame Democrats and make Democrats blink instead of you guys blinking before the fight even starts.
Look, don't disagree. This is going to give us an opportunity for the Senate to work on a better piece of healthcare legislation. I took a look at this vote, and Bob, when I went home, and as you know, I'm home every weekend. I'm home every weekend with my daughter. I go up and down the district from Cuyahoga, Medina, Wayne, and Holmes counties. And just a few weeks ago, and it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I held a breakfast out in Strongsville, which is, as you know, one of our bigger and biggest conservative cities within Cuyahoga County. And without question, the biggest group that supports me. And just like you, right? They always have some questions for me, always agree to disagree. But here's what I heard on that breakfast. And for the people who were there, 3 different individuals who are Republicans asked a question and were concerned about their rising healthcare premium costs and what I could do in order to resolve it. I want to make this clear. I understand that this is a Democrat piece of legislation and it's absolutely horrific. But if this number is true, and we have seen it, and I will confirm it with you, that across the country, 55% of Republicans are the ones who rely on what is on the table right now. It's not mostly Democrats. It's our good people in rural areas that are across the country. And I do take that into account as well. These are the same people who voted for President Donald J. Trump. That's why you have Senator Josh Hawley, who I think is also, in terms of being a right-wing conservative, very far right and very staunch in his positions. And he is out there right now, as he had been advocating to continue to look at this, to continue to find a solution. No one wants this around. We all want to be clear. But if my team doesn't have a solution to the problem, the right way isn't to hurt Republicans and Democrats and independents because members of Congress and the Senate has failed the American people. That is not how I can stomach something and make a decision that is responsible for 22,000 people who probably support their family and kids, and that number balloons to probably 60,000. These are the decisions that we think about, as you know, every day.
You know, I know, I do, but like, you know, I don't want to be redundant either, but you say, you know, if we don't have a solution to the problem, then we have to keep going. Well, what if keep going is the problem?
So
We're adding to the problem. We're extending the problem for 3 more years. You know as well as I do that with the slim margin in the Senate as well, you know, it's only 3 votes, and you got 3 or 4 or 5, votes that President Trump can never count on the Senate side as well. They're not going to get anything done. They're not going to be able to institute these reforms. We need pressure, in my opinion, Congressman. We need pressure from your side, your chamber, and from Senator Moreno's chamber. And I know I had him on last week. He's working very, very hard with a lot of these reforms, but we need pressure to come from both sides. And you guys just passed this, and this is going to be passed on to them. They're not going to be able to get anything done either. The 3-year extension will go the full 3 years with the insurers, as Burchett was talking about, making billions more. And with the fraud continuing, and with the caps, and the people making $600,000-$800,000 a year getting tax credits for their health care.
But the one thing that's
going to continue for 3 more years, and we all know it.
I don't mean to interject, but the one thing that has been left out a lot of this conversation are all of the investigations that are currently going on Mr. Burchett's committee. I love Tim. Tim and I are good friends. We see the world a different way, but we always get along. And he's a good buddy of mine. We go out to dinner. But at the end of the day, oversight and judiciary are conducting these investigations when it comes to fraud. And even this week in Congress, since we have gotten back, we already removed a $1 million earmark that was slated to go to a Somali center somewhere across the country. I actually believe in Minnesota, that we voted to remove just yesterday out of an appropriations package. There's a lot more being done to uncover all of the fraud that is out there. There's much more that goes on than just what people say on TV in these small clips, right? And I'm just going to say, what I believe is the more people go on TV and the more clips they get without actually explaining the education and reasoning behind it isn't helpful. I love Tim. Tim's a great guy. But on this one, we just see the world differently. And I already know for a fact we are uncovering fraud. We're seeing it right before our very eyes in the billions and trillions of dollars. And if we could get Congress to get a reconciliation just to focus on fraud, Bob, I believe that we would clean up our national debt and quicker than we ever had in our country's history. So, I mean, when it comes to all of this, every member represents a different district, and that we do our very best to listen to our constituents. I happen to represent a district, just to remind people, as of right now, I represent the 2nd most Democrat county in the entire state of Ohio. And I have Medina, Wayne, and Holmes counties. We have a very interesting constituency that's full of the largest Ukrainian population out of anyone or any 2 Republican in Congress. When I do this job, I do my very best to listen to everyone across our district. And so even when it came to this vote, it isn't to me a 3-year extension. We have not had as many Republicans introduce healthcare fixes to the solution, for the problem to the solution, as we do right now. I feel invigorated by what's going on. I don't feel glass half full. I don't believe that this was a missed opportunity. I believe that this enables the Republican Party to clean up a Democrat mess that they created, and we are coming in and we are going to do so. And that piece of legislation, to be clear, that I voted on yesterday to get to the Senate will never pass as is. It will never be a clean extension of the ACA for 3 years once the Senate gets their hands on it. And just to circle back, and I also don't mean to be redundant, but if we don't do this now, and the way things are going currently, if we lose the majority, we will go back to what the Democrats originally wanted, which was an indefinite extension and Medicare and Medicaid for all. And that is the next step if we can't find an interim solution right now to kind of protect the quarterback before he gets sacked and we never gets back up to play another down. So
is it a fair summary to say that you passed a bill that you don't want to pass any further?
I wouldn't say that that's the case. I would want the bill to advance.
Well, you just said, though, you said you passed it and you know full well it's not going to go any further. It's not going to pass as is in the Senate. So you're basically saying we passed something in order to destroy it?
Yeah, I wouldn't say in order to destroy it, in order to make it better. I mean, and these are the conversations that.
Well, it needs to be destroyed before it needs to be destroyed before it can be improved. As you well know, everything that we've talked about ever since the shutdown at the end of last year, everybody knows where the money goes. The money goes to the insurers. They have no incentive whatsoever to lower the premiums on people. They are going to continue to make bank here. And as you know, the healthcare savings account plan is to put the money in the pockets of the people. The
Right, but we're already going
insurers.
after we're already going after the insurers, though, Bob. I mean, I'm on the oversight committee on Ways and Means. Right now, one of my main jobs is to go ahead and get these health insurance companies and bring them in and ask them questions about the abuses that they've conducted on the American people in the healthcare system. I believe, and I know this is a crazy concept for some of us, but we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can go ahead and undercover all of this fraud. We have over 200 members of Congress on certain committees that are dedicated to uncover these things. And I am one of them on the Oversight Committee on Ways and Means when it comes to fraud and abuse. So we are uncovering those things as of now. But you know this just as well as I do. When we pass a piece of legislation out of the House, and I'm going to use this year as an example, I believe that there's maybe been one time where we've passed a piece of legislation that hasn't been amended more than 50% by the Senate that has come back down for us to vote on as is. So when you say, yes, you voted for a piece of legislation that you believe will vote to die in the Senate or you don't want to advance any further, that's not necessarily true, because I trust Senator Moreno. I trust the senators and the conservatives who are working up there on that healthcare legislation, that when they're done and it comes back down to the House, it will look much different, like the one big beautiful bill and everything else that has taken place in this Congress. It's a ping pong match. And we're right. And all we did is we delivered them the vehicle to actually make this disastrous program better. That is why we did it. And that is why Senator Moreno asked for 20 Republicans in the House to take a leap of faith with him and to trust him. And a lot of us chose to do so because we believe that he can get it done in the Senate. And once again, I'd rather work on a 3-year trying to get it done in 1 or 2 than live in a world where my little daughter is going to have Medicare and Medicaid for all and a healthcare system that no one's going to even want to go to, even if they have a little cut on their finger for some stitches.
Congressman, you said you see things differently, the world differently than Tim Burchett does, even though you're friends. You see it differently than Mike Johnson does as well. He's very much opposed to this, and this is considered to be a defeat for him when 17 of you guys sided with Hakeem Jeffries over him. Have you talked to him, and what do you want to say to him?
I haven't talked to him about this vote, and leadership hasn't reached out to me. But Bob, I'm going to make something clear. We can revisit my comments just 10 months ago on the speaker. You know, a lot of people gave me a lot of crap, Bob, when I came out and I said Speaker Johnson was the biggest detriment to the conference. You know, a lot of people questioned me. They questioned my loyalty. And now as we continue to move on in this Congress, what have you seen? You've seen more members question his ability to lead, something that I called out at the very beginning of this Congress. And there was a quote that I gave, and I'll say it again, that he was the biggest detriment to this Congress. We don't have strong leadership in the House. Speaker Johnson, look, he's done a good job plugging the holes on the boat. But at the end of the day, if he didn't want 17 Republicans to vote for this bill, he didn't call me. He didn't send me a text message. He didn't ask me to come to his office. The other thing I'd like to bring up is this, Bob. President Trump came to our retreat on Tuesday. He talked about the Affordable Care Act. His advice to the entire Republican conference, fix it. And I got to tell you, I know President Trump on a personal level. Him and I still talk every other week. When the president says that, he wants it to pass. He doesn't want it to be his problem, right? That is fundamentally, he didn't tell any Republican don't vote for it. And the president isn't shy about what he wants Republicans to support and what he doesn't want them to support. And by having these negotiations and looking at how this has been mismanaged, if the speaker could have done a better job getting our conference in line, we would have delivered on a real health care plan. But instead, he's too busy managing, ridiculous censures on the floor or privilege resolutions and not getting us in line to get on the same team. And it's a bit of a disaster. And so I'm not surprised with what's going on right now. And in terms of defying the speaker, I didn't defy the speaker. He never called. He never wrote. He never texted. He never asked me to come to his office. And he certainly never told me to vote no for the extension.
So I don't need to defend Mike Johnson. I've been critical of Mike Johnson. Well, I think I've been fair. I've criticized him when I think he's been criticism worthy. I think it's a very impossible job, though. We're talking about a 3 or a 4 seat majority. You cannot afford to lose anybody, and you've got all kinds of really, really, differing opinions. As you said, worldviews. The way you see things. I think it's almost impossible to get anything done. But the one thing that we did do is we were able to stay united during the shutdown over this very issue. We stayed united, and the Democrats blinked, and we got done what we needed to get done. And I feel like when we split, the old adage of united we stand, divided we fall. I feel like if we'd have stayed united the way we did during the shutdown on this issue right now, it would force a much quicker, much less than 3-year solution to this healthcare problem. So, I'll give you the last word. I've got about 2 minutes left for you.
Absolutely, and thank you for the time. So during that interim, during that shutdown, the speaker made a good decision, was to keep all of us home. But during that time, and he made this clear, I mean, he did say that we were going to find a solution to the problem before the subsidies ran out. He did. That time ran out. We gave ample time to leadership and to the administration to figure out a solution. The White House gave us more leadership and direction on how to vote on this than the speaker did. I mean, they literally let everyone free and to do the right thing by their district, and not one person told us to go against it. And so for context, they told us that we would have something that we would be able to implement by the end of the year. It's some type of codifying copper plans to make sure premiums are lower, or to ensure that short-term long duration plans were going to be implemented for a 12-month carryover and 36 months for Cobra. None of that was delivered upon. And I got to tell you, a bunch of members like me and others who wanted to support this bill, but they feel as if they can't because they won't go on a tough show and answer tough questions. And I get it. It's not fun. But at the end of the day, no one defied the president. No one defied the speaker. This legislation is going to be reformed in the Senate. And I do, once again, have confidence in Senator Moreno and the individuals that are up there to get this done. And he's also, to be clear, pushing for a 3-year extension. But he's pushing for it with caps. And
with massive reforms. He told me that last week.
But Bob, real quick, that's the point. We were able to give Senator Moreno a vehicle to go ahead and to put his caps in major reforms so that could pass out of the Senate, so that we could get 218 votes in the House to deliver on a better piece of healthcare legislation as we've been working on. We just didn't have that ready in the hopper to go just yesterday. But I feel we're not 3 years away from it. I feel like we could be 6 months to a year away from it now that we've gotten them a vehicle to work on.
Well, Congressman, like I said, you knew you were going to take heat for this online tweet. People are coming for you. They're calling for primaries. You knew I was going to criticize. And like I said before, I got to put us both back up here as I say goodbye. You knew you were gonna get into it with me because I'm very disgusted by the idea of a 3-year extension of this whole thing. Again, especially without reforms, I'm going to have to trust to what you're saying, and what Senator Moreno is talking about on the Senate side is going to yield results. But I have very little faith that between now and November that we're going to get anything done that could actually pass both houses and be signed by the president, which means we extend this to next year and then the year. And again, then it's all going to come to a head in 2028.
But Bob, let's make something clear. Just to wrap up, and I don't mean to keep you on and take your time, but if this bill does not advance in the Senate, there will be no 3-year extension on these subsidies. I mean, so right now, if this bill just goes up there and it dies as is, the Senate will not take it up, and they do not have the votes to pass it. So this will not be extended for a 3-year subsidy whatsoever. It'll just be.
Do you think, though, that there will be enough senators who think the way you do about, well, like you said, you've got Republicans who rely on their premiums are going to skyrocket more than Democrats, according to the polling you talked about, that they may say, hey, we've got to do something too. And again, we kick this freaking thing down the road further.
Look, I understand that you're frustrated, and I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. I'm really, really freaking pissed off, okay? I'm in my 3rd year as a member of Congress in my 2nd term. And here I go wanting to address and codify issues of the President of the United States, solidifying the border, codifying his energy policy, and doing great things within the tax code. And here we are dealing with healthcare, right, out of all things. And at the end of the day, we are going to find a better and amicable solution. And I understand that in this day and age, it's tough to trust somebody. I understand. But
Yeah.
the one thing that I can tell you, and the one thing that I am proud about myself and our team, and I appreciate the opportunity, is I don't back down. I'm not someone who's going to take a tough vote and not give you a reason as to why or explain why it's important to our constituency. But take a state like Missouri. If you look at Missouri, and if you look, because I just go back to Senator Hawley, and I have to pull this stat, and I'm going to make it more conservative than liberal because I believe that it's higher than what I'm saying. But I think more than 55% of the people within his state rely on this. And more than 55% of the people within his state are Republicans, right? And once again, at the end of the day, we aren't talking about giving out gifts to illegal immigrants. We're not talking about any of that crap. We're talking about helping the American people. So.
Well, and I get it. That is what it's about, helping the American people. There's just obviously a lot of different views on how to get there. And right now, this is a frustrating thing, especially after that shutdown fight, which when we reunited, we won. And now we've got to figure out a way to get past this. Congressman, again, I've always said this to you. You and I have gone at it a few times over the course of your 3 years. You always come back and have the fight because you know it's going to be a fair fight and a fair discussion. So I appreciate you one day after this vote coming on here and talking about it. And we'll see where it goes from here, and hopefully we'll chat again about it.
Yeah, Bob, I look forward to it. And by the way, I love the new setup. Anytime you want to do this, you just let me know. I appreciate
you. Will do. Thank you, Congressman Miller.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, that's Max Miller joining us. What we're going to do here is we're going to take a short time out before we bring our next guest onto the program. So I want you to just relax for a couple of minutes here. We're going to get things set up for candidate for governor in what will be an Ohio GOP primary. That's right. There will be a primary. It might not have thought so, but there's going to be one. Candidate for Governor Casey Putch is going to join us next right here on Strictly Speaking Unfiltered. Take a short time out and come on right back after this. All right, that's our final timeout of the half. Thanks so much for indulging me while we took that little break. I wanted to put a little distance between our last guest and our next guest because obviously very, very different situations here. But thanks to Congressman Max Miller for joining us, talking about his vote yesterday, along with 16 other Republicans joined with the Democrats to advance the 3-year extension of the Obamacare tax subsidies. It's all kind of crazy. but that's where we are. So I want to pivot now and talk about Ohio specifically. And 2 nights ago in Cleveland, Vivek Ramaswamy introduced Senate President Rob McCauley as his number 2, his lieutenant governor and running mate, if you will. Said they're going to go out and make Ohio great again, and they're going to stop Dr. Lockdown, Amy Acton, from taking over the state. And okay, sounds good. He's got a huge momentum. A lot of momentum does Vivek Ramaswamy. The day he announced his candidacy last year, President Trump said, boom, I endorse. What does that mean? One guy says it doesn't mean anything because he said Vivek Ramaswamy is not the right guy. He's the right guy. He's known as Casey the Car Guy, Casey Putch. I had to admit, I did not know about his channel. I did not know about his YouTube channel. Apparently 350,000 other people do. And he's an extraordinary success there. And he now wants to be a success in the political realm. Let me share this if I can before I bring him up so that you can kind of have a look-see at who we're talking about here. Sorry about the little tech glitch here, but let's pull up the website, Casey Putch for Ohio. And hopefully you can see that. Is it up? Yeah, there's a small version of it. Let me make it the full screen version. All right, there we go. So Casey Putch for Ohio. He says, Ohio home, America first. He said, I'm America first. I'm running for governor to secure a future we can look forward to. And that means he's going to take over. He's going to take over the executive reins in the state of Ohio. Bold action promised there to return the American dream to Ohioans, protect our culture and institutions from globalist special interests that undermine us. And there you go. That's Casey Putch. So that's the website. Now let's bring the man on live right here on Strictly Speaking Unfiltered. Casey Putch joining us. And where is his picture? This should be him right here. From the garage, it looks like. Yeah, it looks like you're in the garage. You working on cars even as we speak, Casey?
Yeah, no, this is the basement. Actually, I'm at my watch.
It's the basement. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. It's good to meet you. I've been reading up about a lot about you. I certainly have read a lot about your comments about Vivek Ramaswamy. So I figured.
Observations.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's fair. That's what it's about. We are allowed to make our observations and tell us what we see. But you didn't just observe and say, "Man, I don't like that." You didn't just say, "I'm not confident that this is the guy to lead us and to lead the state of Ohio back to what we should be." We're a middle to lower, below the middle of the pack state in terms of economic growth, in terms of jobs, in terms of education. So you said he's not the guy. I wish we could find the guy. You said, "I'm the guy." Tell me how the hell you decided. First of all, tell everybody who you are. Give us the background, and then we'll talk about why you decided to make this run.
Well, I'm a car guy. I grew up in Northwest Ohio, a little town in Tiffin. The family business was a public golf course. So we worked 6 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. Very hard, building everything from the tractors there to golf carts to all the grounds and taking care of all the people. So
I'm sure I drove by your place a time or two, by the way.
Maybe.
I'm sorry. I just want to let you know I went to Heidelberg, so I know Tiffin very well. I probably drove by your place.
South of town, just off the country road there.
Got it.
Yeah, but beyond that, proud military men going back years. World War II, Vietnam, both world wars back. So these are all Americans that care about their families. They care about their communities. You got to take responsibility for yourself, but look around and try to make things better. So I'm a product of that. With regard to politics and where we're at now, I've taken a greater and greater interest in politics because, to be perfectly honest, our culture has largely gone to hell in a handbasket in the last 5 years alone. And the older you get, when you have a family, when you're working hard to build a nonprofit educational program or build my Omega car and do innovation or build a little watch company, and you find out that the walls are just closing in America and Ohio, and there's no good ways to forward or better the future. You look at government and it's just establishment, institutional, bureaucratic garbage. And then you see somebody like Vivek Ramaswamy, who he didn't go to higher school in Ohio. Heck, he goes to Harvard and Yale and gets money thrown at him from George Soros family money. He doesn't have a business in Ohio. He's done no philanthropic work in Ohio despite his great wealth. He barely lives in Ohio and increases his net worth just going around using the taxpayer money of donations just to run for office that he never gets in. He gets appointed to Doge, which is probably the most important thing in all of America to make the government not be revolting garbage, destroying our futures. And what, that was too hard for him and he couldn't get along and he got booted and then astroturfed into oblivion early last year with everybody in the world endorsing a guy who has got no track record, has done nothing for anybody. Yeah, I looked around. It's not that I'm like, oh, I'm Casey Butch. I think I'm the best politician ever. Oh, I think it'd be great to be in political office. No, it's terrible. It's a horrible job if you're an honest person. I'd like to be building my business. I'd like to be taking care of my family. I'd like to be building a successful nonprofit and continuing to get people great jobs like what I've always been doing. But basically, we're all being set up for failure in the future by vulgar, disgusting people that clearly have nobody's interest in mind other than their own. So that's why I'm running for governor of Ohio as a Republican against Vivek.
Okay. So, and by the way, apologies. I was told it was Putch. It's Putch?
Putch, like put your money where your mouth is.
Got it. Okay, good. I'll
I
correct
got a
that.
big one. Too bad I don't have more money.
All right. So that's a lot. What do you make of the fact that when you said he was astroturfed into oblivion, was the president of the United States part of the astroturf? Because he gave him his green light immediately.
Of course he was. And honestly, I think Donald Trump endorsing him way back when was the fastest way they thought they could get rid of him. And he would behave and just be reasonable and stick him somewhere. Because Vivek spent an absurd amount of money running for president just using Donald Trump's talking points, when in fact, Vivek didn't even become a Republican until a few years ago. He practiced DEI in his businesses beforehand, before he just tried to rebrand to be a conservative. So I think that was a political deal just to get rid of Vivek. I don't think any of these high-end people actually like him. So it's absurd. Nothing about it's natural. The fact that he went in so early, got the entire establishment to back him just so he could raise money, then they clear the field. There's nothing natural about this. And the establishment.
It worked, by the way. The raising money thing worked. He's got just, I think it's like $990 million or something like that in his campaign fund right now.
Sure.
It takes that. You know how much Mike DeWine spent to win the primary in 2022?
Oh, I bet you spent a minimum $10 million.
He spent $6.8 million. Vivek's got over $900 million. Do you have the resources to compete with that?
Absolutely, I do. I've got all the people behind me. The establishment's terrified. Heck, the head of the Ohio GOP's turned off all the comments on their Twitter. Old Vivek quit social media because he couldn't hack it anymore. So all the people have turned on it. So heck yeah. You know, money, yeah, it matters, but for as many billionaires that'll throw a bunch of money at Vivek so they can manipulate the people in the government, there's just as many, or at least a few out there that want to cut him off at the knees so Vivek doesn't turn Ohio blue and screw up the Senate, which he's well on the way to do. So am I a billionaire? No, because if I was, I would already have built schools all around Ohio and businesses and done all the stuff that Vivek Ramaswamy and all the disgusting billionaires that back him don't do for the people, because I actually care. I'm a little feisty right now because I'm sick of this. That's why I'm here. Nobody honest wants to be in office. They just want the future to be better so they can build. And I'm here to fight for that. Yeah, this is insanely risky. Any of these kooks would like to take me out 11 ways to Sunday, but I'm just done with it. I don't care. And so are the American people. Yeah, we're raising the money. Yeah, I got all the support of the people. And yeah, I got people that want Vivek to go.
You said something about building schools, which Vivek should be doing. What do you mean by that? First of all, what do you mean by building schools? Second of all, generally speaking, let's just pick some of the issues here. Education in Ohio is flagging. Yeah, no, that's fine. Education in our state, I think we're like 38th, 39th or something. We're again in the back half nationally, educationally. You mentioned something about building schools. What's your solution to the education problem in the state of Ohio? If you were
There's a bunch of questions there. Let me answer the first one shortly. So the Genius Scratch educational program I've done for the last 11 years, 501c3 public educational charity. I built that to pick up where higher education, the American school system, leaves off. Engineering is basically an academic vacuum. Our schools have become a black hole for a nation's future wealth, put everybody wildly in debt, and doesn't even give them any experience to get them hired. I knew I could make that difference, and that's why for the last over a decade, I've helped bright young engineers actually get somewhere, and that's where they get hired everywhere from Lockheed Martin to Tesla, GM, Ford, Marathon, and a myriad of other things. I don't get paid to do it. The students don't have to be paid to be there, and I'm a normal guy. So when I say Vivek doesn't do something like build schools, that's just an example in terms of contrast of what I, a citizen who actually cares about people in the future, have done with little, when Vivek has everything and has done nothing. So the other question with regard to how to fix the educational system, first of all, K through 12 is a little bit different than higher education, universities, and college. So just a point regarding colleges and universities. They're a black hole for wealth. So you have federal student loans that can't be defaulted on, that a 17-year-old kid can take out a $100,000 a year loan when that person could never qualify for a business loan or a home loan or anything else in this country. Yet they can go into a major, maybe like something in fine arts that literally has no jobs, and they're just in debt for the rest of their life and basically just set up to become a political radical. Now, that's a slightly more extreme example, but that's how it's set up. So the colleges and universities can just have diluted down and watered down and majors and things that aren't any good, while they just keep sapping a nation's wealth and future. The K through 12, Vivek has idiotic ideas that kids need to go through school year round, through summer, in longer hours. Hey, but we'll save money on daycare to just pummel the kids. And then also put more pressure on the teachers. Yeah, Vivek wants to put all the pressure on the teachers, which just says to me, all he is a type of, money managing, hedge fundy kind of private equity sort that have no idea how to lead, no idea how things actually work or lead anything. The problem is in the Ohio Department of Education. That's where it is. You can't force the teachers to do stuff when their hands are already tied with what's going on. You can't just pour cubic yards of money at a situation to do it. You have to actually understand what it is. So every single absurd platitude Vivek says about fixing the education just shows he absolutely knows nothing about it. He doesn't care because he's never done anything about it. And one last point, the H-1B visa thing where he wants to import unlimited Indians, which...
Well, let's go. Well, no, let's stay on education. We'll come back to that.
I was coming back to education.
From that. Okay. Well, it's just that when I said, how are you going to fix education in Ohio? Your response was basically Vivek is terrible because he wants to extend the school year, longer hours.
I went into some details of how it works.
Yeah, well, but I want to hear your ideas though. How do you said we can't just pin it all on the teachers and we don't want to extend the school year and all the other stuff. Don't give me the anti-Vivek part of this.
Great point.
Give me your answer.
Well, K through 12, a couple of problems we have are no transparency for the parents. That's something that freaked everybody out, and we saw in the last 5 years just horrible things were happening because of that. The parents want to know what on earth they're being taught. So radicalized and even political and social radicalized things were getting into our school system, which is a telltale sign that can't happen. So there has to be full transparency with regard to curriculums and things happening there. The other problem that's happened is radicalization. There's been weird aspects where teachers are given way too much power. We saw that in the last 5 years with radical gender ideology, and then even taking power away from the parents. At the end of the day, the parents are the one that need to have all the power. So that's one small aspect there is transparency and the parents having the power. The next thing with regard to it is, it's a simple word, competition. If an institution has no competition or is only funded by the government, it's not going to be very good. And if you want an example, I'd say go to the DMV. How much are you going to enjoy that experience? So the difficulty is, and obviously I mentioned with regard to my competition, people start looking at superficial things like putting more pressure on the teachers, or hey, let's just lower our standards. But it comes down effectively how the government is leading that and what's happening. But obviously the other thing I mentioned competition is we have homeschooling, we have private schools, we have issues relating to where does the money follow? So people are paying lots of tax dollars and it goes to a public school that's garbage in one way, shape, or form. Was that fair that then they have other options that need to happen? So to fix it, one, I have to lead it and make it so that there's transparency. So they're not taking power away from the parents, that the teachers are able to do their job and do well and be empowered. But within the institution, it can't be set up to where there's no competition and the schools can become just a black hole and kind of a monster. With regard to higher education, there's some difficulties there. They're big juggernauts and it's tied in with the federal government and federal student loans and things like that, of which in terms of the state, it will be difficult to specifically regulate. But I can tell you this, if you look at universities and college that have massive multi-billion-dollar endowments, and they only offer a certain amount of scholarships, but if you said, like, let's say you had $5 billion and you're investing it, even at a small, reasonable return, that's quite a lot of money. So my very simple point is, if a college is so wealthy in a sense that it can afford to give scholarships and let young people, especially people of Ohio or people of America, be able to come there for free or have lesser class rates or do things more efficiently for the betterment of the future so the young people can hit the ground running with less debt and better off like we did in the past, 40, 50, 60 years ago, I think we should be doing that because universities and colleges and stuff, they have tax exempt statuses and whatnot. And there's ways for the government, if they actually care about the betterment of the future, the nation, the state, families, to put pressure on the universities to do things so that they can't just be set up to sap all the money out of a student and give them a diluted down education. And if there's no other reason than creating law within a state that every college and university has to have, and I'm air quoting something equivalent to like the Surgeon General's warning with smoking that this is addictive and may cause cancer, et cetera, well, then darn it, they're going to be forced under my governorship to be able to say this major has 0 jobs. If you go into it and you spend this much money, you will be this far in debt. Will be your place in society, and it will most likely take you until you're 80 years old to even break even. Probably don't recommend this one. That sounds a little hyperbolic, but the truth of the matter is we're duping our young people. We're duping their parents to condition them to think that they need to go in school there and they need to go into school there and do it. But by virtue of doing that, we just destroyed the future. So it's transparency, power back to the parents, making it so it can't become a black hole for nation's wealth. And by virtue of doing that, the added benefit and side effect is the schools naturally have to get better again, offer better curriculum, create better standards, basically like we did in the past.
Yeah. And, you know, I used to teach, so I know a little bit about it. And, you know, I have no love for the teachers unions. And quite frankly, I have no love for the agenda that is in public schools right now. I believe in the backpack bill. I believe in school choice. People should be able to take their money that is allocated for each kid and go wherever they can get the best education for the kids. But the reality is I don't even put as much of it on the teachers as I do the families. The families are broken. The fact that you don't have a mother and a father, you know, in so many, particularly in the larger urban districts, but in a lot of suburban and rurals as well, where you don't have a mom and a dad checking homework, you don't have a mom and a dad making sure things are being done, working collaboratively with teachers and blah, blah, blah. I think the family problem is a big problem in the education circles as well. Tell me how you want to address Ohio's families and the problems, poverty, in again, a lot of the urban districts primarily, but poverty, high crime, and getting kids back on task if they don't have parents who are going to be a part of the solution. Any thoughts on that aspect?
Fair. That was a little bit of a black pill. Fair, and happy to address it. But frankly, that doesn't take away in any way, shape, and form for the deep failings of the structure of our educational systems, K through 12 and higher right now. So that has to be fixed first and foremost. Because perfect families, it's still destroying the future with that. With regard to the families and that, yeah, we have a culture that's declining. Okay. First thing, what protection, what is the state, what is the government doing to protect young people from being completely addicted and programmed by social media platforms? What protections do the people have against AI for their likenesses, their voices, their IP, their information? Because right now it pretty much feels like absolutely zero. There is no more addictive thing on planet Earth I've ever seen in my life than a phone.
You're right.
And social media. You know, fentanyl is terrible, but social media is already destroying all of our lives, but we let it go because, billionaires like to control us. And all social media platforms, their algorithm just goes down to strumming the chord of all the basilar human constructs and emotions that keep you addicted and fighting, period. There's nothing constructive about it.
So do you have a plan to break that addiction, Casey?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Social media addiction and looking into that so that we can be healthy again is a huge, huge aspect of what I'm doing, because for the last 6 years or more, from even just having virtue of being an automotive YouTuber, I've seen it firsthand. I've been around every generation that's alive right now, down to young people, and it's beyond terrifying. That will destroy our future.
Well, yeah, I agree. It will destroy our future, but I'm just trying to figure out. I know there are a lot of schools and a lot of districts that have implemented some sort of phone ban in classes. That's just to kind of tie the phone addiction to the education problem, because kids are literally sitting at their desks scrolling as opposed to listening to the teacher. So there are some things going on there. Now, I don't know if that's a government approach or if that's got to be an individual school approach, an individual building or district approach. But you're saying from the top down, from the executive office of the state of Ohio, can we implement something to take those devices out of hands? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, I'm suggesting a lot more than that.
All right.
I'm suggesting at the root. Even if you take it away from at school, doesn't mean they're going to find other ways to do it. Doesn't mean they're going to be completely obliterated, addicted when they go home. Maybe it makes the problem even worse. What I'm saying is we have a national health epidemic. We're being completely addicted and programmed. So just in general, from the top down, in every way conceivable, all of us have to be saved from this. The programs in general have to be looked at, and it has to go to the root. It's not just making it, hey, you can't text and drive. Hey, you can't have it in school. Hey, you can't have a cell phone in a federal building or something like that. We need serious programs relating to the addiction and studying it for the betterment of everybody, because it's just flat out destroyed our culture.
Let's talk about money. We haven't done that yet, other than the campaign, which I'm going to come back to, by the way, as far as campaign, because I want to beat the Democrats. I want to beat Amy Acton. We cannot let Dr. Lockdown anywhere near that office. We cannot.
Tell me about it.
That. Yeah, so it's good, and so I'm going to talk about resources and the ability to win that race in a moment. Let's talk about money in a different way and talk about the state budget. We have a $90 billion state budget, biennial budget, and it is like double, almost 2/3 more than similarly sized states also in the Midwest and some south and even north up to Michigan. Why the hell are we spending so much money? Why is our budget so huge? And give me your idea or your opinion of the current budget that Mike DeWine signed and that the General Assembly seems to be more than happy to do. And if you were to be in that office, what would you do about cutting the rampant spending in this state? We don't need to be spending $90 billion every 2 years.
Well, your last question is the best with regard to all of those things in terms of why is the budget so high, making mention of Mike DeWine's spending bill. You know, Mike DeWine's a Republican, but I think that's where my love for him ends. And even now, in looking at the establishment and the Republicans, I don't know who they are. So it's cutting it. The waste is insane. The fraud is insane. You know, at the risk of sounding slightly black-pilled, the more you learn, the more it's like, oh my God, it's like cancer that's metastasized into every single system. And I can tell you this, yes, I'm an outsider, which by virtue of it means I can hire the best people that are not already connected and entrenched in the swamp, because there's a massive team behind me already. It's not just me in my little old basement doing this. So the point is, we have the entirety of the budget, and yes, I have plans with regard to innovation and industry and building and doing things in the future that's in everybody's best interest is in net gain. But it's attacking this waste and fraud, attacking it like it's nobody's business. I'm already at a huge risk doing this. I'm not part of the establishment. I never want to be. So I don't feel as bad about making all the establishment ones that are deep-seated in all this and sending people to jail. I don't feel bad about it at all. Good. Maybe we can get back on track.
Have you looked, though, Casey, to be more specific about the budget? Have you looked at the budget and where some of the areas are that you would first consider cutting? Things where spending Ohio tax dollars and federal tax dollars that come to Ohio, where these can be better managed and better applied. Have you looked at that and seen this is where I want to cut? This is what I disagree with that DeWine put into this or had the GA put into this that he signed. Have you looked at it specifically yet?
I've seen it. However, I've barely looked at it. Barely. And here's why. If Ohio, we give it the analogy of being a car, and we're going to hopefully switch drivers and let somebody else look after the car. Okay, the engine's running and it's at least kind of moving down the road, but we're on 3 wheels with the tire blown and the engine missing and everything else. So respectfully, I'll give you an example. The Somali fraud up in Minnesota and down here to the tune of many millions of dollars. There are so many insane problems to fix and attend to immediately. I've barely had time to look at the budget and even consider changing the whole and worrying about it. It's like if you buy a new house, it's a fixer-upper. It's like, my God, the roof is leaking through both floors. The water's coming in. The stairs are crumbling. The foundation's a disaster. We don't have a heater. You know, the last owner took out all these credit cards. The house and the home is way under debt. I'm sorry, but I don't have time to look at the budget yet for the landscaping and whatnot. So yes, I've seen it. And yes, there's things to do. But right now, my focus is on, one, getting in and getting elected to stop the revolting establishment swamp creatures that are already backing Vivek. It's disgusting. And then get rid of these glaring, horrific problems. So then, only then can you start to smooth things out for the betterment of the future.
Casey, do you Do you have an idea who you want to work with? And what I mean is, 2 nights ago, Vivek named Rob McCauley his running mate. Have you decided on a lieutenant governor running mate? And then, secondly, I don't know if you know how many cabinet positions there are for the governor in the state of Ohio, but he gets to appoint 26 cabinet members. Do you have a team or some people, some names that you would float as potential, problem solvers to all of the things you're describing?
Absolutely. I already have the lieutenant governor picked. We had a lot of people that wanted to be in, some actually really incredible ones. And the person I chose is one to balance me out, in a sense. You want somebody that has strengths where you have less strengths, and vice versa. So this is somebody that's not specifically within the establishment. It's somebody that knows how this works and has already shown tremendous initiative and success, and the person with the character that I want there. More specifically relating to people even on my own team, as well as getting into cabinets, absolutely. And I'm going to pick the people that, one, I think have the absolute right character, but have shown themselves both in the past as well as now and in the recent past when I've tested them to see where their character and loyalties actually lie. Because I would rather have somebody with a touch less experience and a little bit less glamour and notoriety if I think they're actually a true person that's going to be able to work together as a team, come together in a constructive way for a vision and flat out do the right thing. I have no interest in career politicians. I think they're probably the worst people in America right now.
Are you going to announce that person's name, or have you and I missed it?
Yes. No, actually today and tomorrow that will become public.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So we'll look forward to that. So you mentioned you want somebody, it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who's an establishment, big name kind of a thing. You want somebody who's better, which is fine. But I have to ask about name recognition. I have to ask again, let's circle back to what I asked about at the beginning about fundraising. And you said you've got the people behind you. Okay, well, what does that look like? What kind of money are we talking about? Because your name is well known in car circles and in social media circles because of your fantastic YouTube, platform that you have. But people don't know you politically. And if you name an LG that isn't a known name as well, just historically speaking, and this is not meant to denigrate you in any way, but historically speaking, no names don't win. No names can't.
Historically,
win. They've got they've got to find a way to have a niche or something. So if you're not going to add a bigger name to the ticket behind yours that people know, if it's going to be somebody less known than you are, how do you get that support that you're going to need? Like I said, it's going to cost at least $10 million to win just
answer your question.
Yeah, to win just the primary, much less a general election against Amy Acton. Go ahead.
Well, if I may, I just want to say a rhetorical statement before answering that.
Sure.
How broken is our government and country right now, based upon just the information you said, that we're making this big a thing out of money? No names can't win, historically don't win. Basically just means that any centimillionaire or billionaire has control over our own government to manufacture this, and that our government largely just becomes an embodiment of Plato's allegory of the cave, where politicians become bought and paid for stage play puppets. Okay, so how am I going to beat it? I'll tell you something, a couple kind of rhetorical things. That wasn't my helicopter that I flew over the data center when I did that YouTube video in. You know how many people in the car world are centimillionaires and billionaires to stay quiet? Hell of a lot of them. You know how many I don't have any, but how many classic Ferraris, say like from the 1950s, that are worth $50 to $100 million for a car? And people collect those for fun? Yeah, that's nice that the whole government, establishment, and politicians, they all think they're so special that they all endorse Vivek, because all that's done is show the American people where the globalist Trojan horses are, where the sellouts are. All of the people have turned against them. They've turned against the Ohio GOP. They've turned against Vivek because all the cracks in his facade have shown, and they see an actual regular person that's tried hard with a family that's tried hard to make things better stand up and go, this is our guy. I'm not going to answer your question specifically relating to money, but I can tell you, I'm really looking forward to this.
Well, and that's fine. You don't have to answer anything you don't want to, but I mean, the money does matter, like I said, because I want to win. I cannot have somebody win the GOP primary on May 5th. And then
we need to get rid of Vivek because he's already trailing Amy Acton in a state that's hugely red with a guy that's been astroturfed by everybody unbelievably and has money. He's going to
Yeah, and I don't know about that. I don't know about the
I
polls.
do. Look at the polling; it's
well, no,
obvious.
I've seen a few some outlier polls. I've also seen other ones in show he's winning by 8 points. I see
They
some where
make
he's winning by
I'll
1
give you an
point.
example. The policy market, the poly market in Kalisha, where you can do betting odds and stuff. The
Yeah.
second I came out, I was up to 36%. He was down to 50, and he was tanking. And it's plain
Okay.
to see that the Vivek people just dump money in to make it camouflage it and make it look like he's not tanking when he is.
Do
But the
you
fact
have
of the matter,
do you have
he
do you have any
can't win.
PACs, Casey? Do you have any PACs or super PACs that you're working with to support
Sure
you?
do. Sure do.
How many
And
of
they're
them?
being announced. Yeah, more are being announced soon. We're saving ammunition for the right time. Nationally recognized things that all of America get behind and love. So yeah, pretty excited about that.
Yeah, because like I said, you might not want it to be about money, but it is. President. I mean,
May I tell you something?
President
Right?
Trump
You're
won.
worried about money. Oh no,
Yeah.
may I?
Go
Right
ahead.
now, you said Devine spent like $6.8 million to run the last time, and I don't know if Vivek's raised 10 or $20 million. I've ridden around with people on racetracks with single cars that are worth more money than Vivek's already put into it. Do you understand that? One car that people own for fun, I've ridden around in, not mine. Like, I get that that's a lot of money. And yes, I'm a normal human being. I have to build watches to make a living. But the people of Ohio, the people of the United States are sick of this crap. And guess what? There's a lot of super wealthy ones out there, some that still have a heart. So I'm not worried about it. I know
No. I mean, listen.
Worried about it is the
Your passion, and your empathy, and with the frustration of Americans. We all share that. There's no doubt about that. But again, then we have to get down to what is it going to take to change that, and what's it going to take. And the reality is, Amy Acton is going to be extraordinarily well funded by the Democrats. So even if you get past Vivek Ramaswamy in a primary, again, resource wise,
well, let me ask you this. Hold on.
Are you going to have that to fight that long fight through November? Go ahead.
No, you're exactly right. So let me point it this way. One, I don't know. Let's say it takes 5 million, 10 million, 20. I don't care. $40 million to get through the primary. Okay. I have friends, and nobody likes Vivek or the Ohio GOP. But here's what happens when I win the primary. The GOP has to get behind me. I'll give you another example. Donald Trump endorsed Vivek when they astroturfed him early on. And then when he started trailing Amy Acton, he came out and endorsed him a second time. Well, old Donald, whom I supported all 3 times, voted for him. I donated to his campaign, and I still support the man. He did that because Vivek's tanking. But the year before, tweets and said Vivek's campaign is deceitful. What I got from Donald Trump is a Lifetime Achievement Award in education for volunteering an absurd amount of hours teaching the young people of the state of Ohio, helping them get jobs and building something that matters. I got that before Vivek by earning it, helping the people of Ohio. Vivek basically bought his endorsement through Donald Trump through political deals. So I'm sorry, but mine matters more. What's going to happen is when I win the primary, the entirety of the GOP has to back me. Otherwise, they're sunk. So that's nice.
Casey,
money, but the
Casey,
GOP
what if
is
it
gonna
doesn't?
be with me, including what I have, and we're going to win. Period.
You're right. If you win the primary, the entire GOP is going to have to back you 100%. Absolutely needs to be.
So
What I want to ask you is, if things don't go your way, okay, will the reverse be true? If Vivek wins the primary, what I mean is, if Vivek wins the primary,
support him?
will you back him?
Absolutely not. I mean, well, I'm a Republican. I'm an American. I'm not going to do that. But I'm not going on the campaign trail supporting disgusting sellouts that have done nothing else. It's vulgar. Like, Vivek's entire running is just spitting in all of our faces, telling us it's rain, buying out the entirety of the Republican Party. Are you kidding me? Do you know how much my life is at stake right now? My family? They can kill me, set me up, destroy me through lawfare, 11 Ways to Sunday, buy out everybody I've ever known. So this is insanely dangerous, and I'm going to support that disgusting establishment? No, respectfully, I will remain a conservative and a Republican, and I am supportive of our President of the United States and our future in the world, and I will still work to make Ohio better, but I'm going to sit it out. I'm going to sit it out, and honestly, everybody else in Ohio should too. And the reason I'm here is because Vivek is a disgusting choice that bought his way in, and Amy Acton is a revolting choice. She quit as the health director, resigned because there was too much pressure. She locked down the state and destroyed people's businesses and lives on the left, on the right. She can't speak up for anything. We're going to put her in charge of the entire economy of Ohio.
We're going to put a woman who quit as health director in charge of a fleet of F-16s? I don't think so. I'm here to fight against both of it. But if this disgusting, vulgar establishment that's doing nothing for our future destroys me or pushes Vivek in there like they're already astroturfing it, I'm sorry, but the game's already over. And all of us normies are going to have to go home, hunker down, and try to figure out how to hold on to the scraps we already have. We can barely afford homes. We barely have jobs. We barely know we're going to have a future. And all of our rights are being taken away by disgusting Somali immigrants are doing the massive fraud schemes to the tune of multi-billions of dollars, destroying our future. And I'm mad right now, and I should be, and everybody else should be mad. The GOP should be terrified, because if I'm not in, they will absolutely lose to Amy Acton, and I'm coming in fighting. And yeah, I've got people in financial horsepower behind me. Yeah, I'm a real person. And so if you want to come get me, come and get me, because I'm not backing down. I'm going to save Ohio from this one way or another with the people.
Everything you just said about Amy Acton is true, and if and
by the way, I'm not mad at you in any way. I'm not mad at you.
No, I understand. That's why I'm not yelling back at you.
Down a barrel right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not yelling back at you because I'm not. This isn't me. But what you just said though is extraordinarily important. Everything you said about Amy Acton is true, which is why we cannot let her win. And the reality is, somebody's going to win the race in November.
Correct.
If Ohioans follow your lead and sit it out, you just said you will sit it out. You won't vote for Vivek and you won't vote for Amy Acton. You'll sit it out, and you said all Ohioans should do the same. But the reality is, some Ohioans are going to vote, and somebody is going to win. Do you really want to roll the dice and let Amy Acton win this?
This is 100% on the Ohio GOP and everyone who has endorsed Vivek. Every single last man, woman, there's no child, but everybody who's endorsed Vivek, this is on them. If the state goes blue, it is on you. It is on Vivek. For all of time, you did this. And me, representing the people of Ohio, we're the ones that are going to have to deal with this. The fact of the matter is, this whole left or right BS charade is BS. Let's say Vivek, doesn't matter who's in the primary. They're going to, the right versus the left, each one's going to spend $100 million on average getting through the general. $100 million just so we can hear somebody talk. That alone is insanely wasteful, vulgar, and disgusting. How is that in the best interest of people? So respectfully, yes, I said that. I'll sit out. That's my right. I don't like it. That's not a good civic duty. But the fact of the matter is, we have all been just astroturfed this disgusting man, Vivek Ramaswamy, and who has nobody's best interest in mind. The GOP is totally sold out. They're completely out of touch, and you can see it. The Democrats certainly are no better. If they were, maybe I'd consider voting for them. But their party is radicalized garbage and has done nothing but destroy the social fabric of America and divided us for the last 4 years or more. So you can't vote for that. But the GOP is just doing it worse. So why would I be part of that? It's not on me, it's on them.
So there are a lot of people online suggesting that you have or you plan to ask Democrats, because of our open primary system in the state, to cross over in the primary and vote for you to get Vivek out of there. Is that true? Do you want Democrats to come over and vote for you in the Republican primary, since they don't have a race, they don't have somebody to oppose Amy Acton?
Well, and to be honest, I'm learning Ohio has a lot of funny laws with regard to voting and parties and everything you're doing here. So here's the deal. The whole construct of left or right, yeah, it exists, but it's also a way to keep everybody divided and fighting. And the thing that I have learned is all the people of the United States have a heck of a lot more in common than they have apart. I don't mean that as a BS political platitude. I mean it honestly. So I think what's going to happen is, as I'm running, when they go, oh my gosh, this is a real guy. Maybe he's a little unpolished. Sometimes he talks like a mechanic, but he actually cares because he's been helping people. This is a real guy. I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a lot of people that are left and independent that, if they legally have the ability to vote for me, wherever that is, they're going to do it, because they can look around and go, hey, the Democrats suck in their choice. Oh my gosh, the Republicans are revolting. And here's an actual Ohioan who cares.
So is that a yes? Is that a yes? You want Democrats to come over and vote in the Republican primary?
All I can tell you is, if it is legal and appropriate for people, just people, to vote for me, I would encourage them to do so, because I've got the best interest of all of us in mind. So yeah, if they can legally do that, I don't even have a choice. They're just going to end up doing it because they clearly see that I have the best interest of the people in mind.
Let me go back to money for a minute, not campaign money, but Ohioans' money, property taxes through the
Oh,
roof.
yeah. Yeah.
There is a massive campaign that I have supported to eliminate property taxes because we have not gotten enough reforms from Columbus to make it affordable for people. Last time I talked to Vivek Ramaswamy about it, we talked about property taxes and income taxes. He supports reforming the property taxes and lowering the property taxes, not eliminating them yet, because he wants to eliminate completely the state income tax, the way that we have in Florida, Texas, Tennessee, and some other places. Where are you on that, on the state income tax? Would you like to see the state income tax abolished, and would you like to see the property tax abolished?
Sure. Well, hey, I don't like paying taxes. Okay. So yeah, I'm happy to get rid of them as much as possible. And if it makes the government have to, tighten their belt, maybe actually do the right thing, I'm all in favor for any things like that. However, like I said, we have to look at what we can objectively and quickly and reasonably do that's in everybody's best interest. So I'm focused right now relating to property tax, more specifically on private family homes. Because just a 10,000 foot view. If you worked all your life and you bought and owned your home, but you're having to pay property tax on it forever and the government can just come in and take it, do you really own it? I mean, that's a bit of a rhetorical question, but it matters. So here's the thing. Private homes are absurdly expensive. A lot of that is happening because corporations, private equity are buying up massive amounts of it and artificially manipulating the market to make that happen. That also makes it so people are going to have to pay more property taxes. So the whole point about seeing how to axe the tax on property taxes is a way that puts power back to the people. Because yes, I know that property taxes largely will go to fund the schools, but the schools are also something that's wildly wasteful, is it not? So if suddenly you give the power back to the people where they absolutely own their own home, the government can't take that, then what's the government going to have to do? They're going to have to get the people to vote on what any taxes will be to fund things like schools and whatnot. And what that does is it takes the power away from the government and gives it back to the people so that we can efficiently, as a people, decide where the money goes. So of course the government is going to scare everybody into not wanting to do it, that, oh, we can't fund schools and things. Of course we can. The government is going to scare everybody away from doing it because it takes the power away from the government. And we all know the first rule of government is to grow and get more money and power from the people. And the first rule of establishment disgusting politicians is just to get reelected. Those are not in the best interest of people. So the property tax thing is going to be hugely helpful for the older generation, baby boomers and such that are retiring. That is a massive win for them. Yes, I'm looking out for them. But here's the thing, the young ones, there's resentment of the future because they can't afford anything in the future. That's why I'm going to make it so that it's very difficult or impossible. We're going to wean away the corporations and the private equity from being able to own private homes, because all that is a slippery slope to make no one be able to afford a home. Everybody be out. And eventually we would just get to a point where we all have to rent, we own nothing and like it. Like the disgusting WEF said, eventually you'll own nothing and like it. Well, I don't like that, and no one else does either. So getting rid of property tax is a quick way to make it difficult on the government, put the power back to the people, and make sure that people are going to have a good future.
What about economic development? Because Intel failed. Intel was supposed to come here and create a whole bunch of jobs and generate a whole lot of tax revenue and so forth, and that's falling through. So what big picture for the entire state? How do we grow manufacturing back in the state? That's the one thing that Vivek also has talked about. Last time I spoke with him, which is about 2 months ago, but he's been on the trail and he's talking about restoring, glass to Toledo. It's all of what it used to be: rubber to Akron, steel to Cleveland and Lorain, and on and Youngstown. What do you see as the economic driver if you become governor? What do you want to do to grow the economy and grow jobs in the state of Ohio? How would you do?
Before I answer that question, I want to give a story that leads into it. So the data centers, right? That's a huge issue. They're coming in a few hundred, basically been slipped in under the cover of night, massive NDA forms. Nobody really knew what they were until they were already being built. They're multi-billion-dollar projects. They have tax abatements for 10 to 15 years, so there's no money going to the state with that. Huge electricity demands, the same as like small towns.
but no, they're not creating any new power generation or anything really that's good for the people. So we're going to have to subsidize the cost of them through massive, increasing electricity bills, and they barely create any maintenance jobs. So there's virtually no money coming in at all. And it's an absolute net loss to Ohio. Yet the politicians are like, it's a prestige project. No, it's not. You loser politicians let the tech bros slip these things in under the cover of the night when we weren't looking, to sap our electricity, to destroy our fresh water in the aquifers and the rivers, Ohio River, Lake Erie, while them paying no taxes, because the United States was doing a stopgap measure and didn't build any good new power generation things. So that you stuck them with Ohio, where we actually had a nice place to live. I wanted to use that as an example for everybody to realize that, one, there has to be control over that turn it into a net interest for everyone, not just industry and the tech bros. Okay, we're not a bunch of peasants to save their future and make them richer. Now, what do you do to create industry? That's across the board. So Toledo, Ohio, Cleveland, Cincinnati, all of us, Dayton, we have the ability to manufacture, from small manufacturing things. If we're doing specialized machining, specialized welding, 3D printing, et cetera, for things like aerospace, military contracting, et cetera. Toledo, we build cars here now. Jeep, the Overland plant, way back 100 years ago, that was here. You mentioned Glass City. Yeah, the Northwest Ohio has massive natural gas. We have unbelievable resources in Ohio, including some of the best coal on earth. Okay, so let's get to the point. Ohio is basically like a garage with a full toolbox, a lift, mechanics that want to work, but there's no projects. Why are there no projects? Well, you could just in this metaphorical garage, you could just spend a whole lot of money just to keep people busy and build a car that's worth less of the money you put into it. Or you could look around and say, what project is out there? And I'm speaking on an international and national and Ohio level in manufacturing. So what companies, what directions? What out there is something that we've got the positioning and the resources for, whether that's energy, whether that's grid infrastructure, factories, land, etc. What exists out there that we could put in here that we've got the right people for? By the way, the H-1B thing is a lie. We don't need to import people. We have the smartest people here, and you can fight me for it. I'll tell you later. It's attracting the efforts and directions where we have the resources, where they can be successful, and understanding these are ones that are not just short-term gains, but that can be a long-term future. And you bring those projects and those people and those corporations in, and you put them together with the resources. I know that may seem overly simplified, and I use the simple car garage analogy, but it's true. And the reason I get so sick and tired of these other politicians saying things like, oh, glass, steel, union this, investment this, short-term gain this, prestige project, all these dumb glossy words, it's all just cover to try to make the people think they know what's up and sell it as a stage play so you vote for them, when they're just doing this in the interest of their billionaire crony buddies. Yeah, do I have some billionaire buddies? Yeah, but they're nice, actual people. I care more about the people of Ohio, all of us, and our future, and making sure we have one, period. So all of the infrastructure projects is that. And then one last detail about that. I want to give you this example. I was in Tucker Carlson early last year, before I was even thinking of doing anything political, just as a normie, because I built the Omega car. Because Obama was lying back when he said he's going to retool Detroit so the energy efficient cars of tomorrow built here for the sake of people in the world. He never did anything. We had to bail out GM as the taxpayers to billions and billions of dollars because Washington, D.C. screws up everything in lending in the whole world. But we don't do anything automotive for the future. Well, me as one normie, I started seeing materials and processes to build a more recyclable car that would be inexpensive to produce, that would be efficient. And I'm like, I'm going to build a car. I'm going to put your money where your mouth is and prove a point. So I built a 2-seat diesel car, non-hybrid diesel. I did it back in like 2013. I said on camera, it'll get over 100 miles a gallon, do 0 to 60 under 5 seconds. Well, I finally tested it when Donald Trump was running because I supported the man, and the electric vehicle mandates from the left were a disaster, destroying innovation. And I'm like, I got to put my money where my mouth is. I got to test this thing, get numbers. I want to support Donald getting in. I want to see innovation and industry come back. So I did. First test out of the box with stop signs and turns, 104.72 miles to the gallon. Tested it the next day, 0 to 60. It beat my Dodge Viper to 60 miles an hour by 0.2 of a second, and exactly matched the Tesla Model 3 rear-wheel drive with a full charge. And the third day, I did the math with the EPA's numbers.
And my car on straight diesel alone has a lower carbon footprint per mile than an EV does when charged at home, considering national average. And we have the infrastructure for it. And we have the ability to produce cars that would actually be affordable by the public. Yet me as a normie, there's no support. Only by virtue of me being a tenacious YouTuber and doing did I ever get any support. Otherwise, the world and the industry and the government would be happy for me to not exist and nobody know about it. But what I do know is that literally the people of Ohio, which are the best resource, some of the smartest in the world, you could fight me for that. The Wright brothers are from here. They're bicycle mechanics. They built a wind tunnel. They figured out powered flight. They went and did it because it's initiative. That's what true Ohio heritage Americans are. That's what it means to be America first and Ohio home, because me and millions of other people at least share that same drive and want to build something in the future, but there's nothing to support it. So I'm going to support innovation for people to where there's corridors to be able to inexpensively create new inventions, to create startups, to where there's some support, everything from legal to advice, so that the people have a launch pad to build their own good future. And it isn't just corporate billionaire cronies. So across the board, we're bringing it back.
We're almost out of time, Casey. But
thank you, by the way. I've enjoyed being here.
My pleasure to have you. I want people to know who you are. If you're going to be running in this thing, I want people to know. And like I said, I want to win. I want to win in November. What happens in May is second. So you've mentioned your support for President Trump multiple times on the conversation so far. Yes, last year, this tweet from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in which she called for Trump's impeachment. You responded to that one with "Hell has frozen over. I agree." Do you pull that one back? Are you still a pro-Trump guy, or what happened?
I got worse ones than that. That was the most critical one you could find.
Well, no, that was just back in December 22nd or something like that. Laura Loomer, who of course is a huge Trump supporter, she posted hold on a second. Let me just share this with the people so they know exactly what we're talking about. I'm going to throw it up on the screen here so that we can do it. And yeah, some of your other ones are in there as well. Like you said, some worse ones than that. But this was in a that's the wrong one. Hold on one second. Let's share this. Yeah, this is Laura Loomer's site, and she calls you a Trump-hating America First candidate. Casey Putsch is poised to split the vote and hand Ohio to Democrats.
With Laura Loomer, yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, well, we all know Laura Loomer is a massive Trump supporter, and she takes on anybody who takes him on.
No, so she's paid for it. That's hilarious.
This is where I first saw that one. I thought, wow, that's
bomb Iran. Yeah, okay, yeah,
so
that's fine.
So is that real? And how do you explain that, or what do you want to say about that?
Yeah, bring it back here. Can I see it?
Yeah. Are you not seeing it on your screen right now?
No, I see it, but may I see you? Can we have?
Oh yeah. We'll fix this up here real quick. There we go. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think AOC's she's a disaster. She needs to go. Like is she not like the worst behind like Nancy Pelosi? My God, can we just get rid of these people? Like, why is she even there? Okay. So that tweet, yeah, that's there. And I've even done things that are more critical of Trump. So first and foremost, do I support Donald Trump? Yes. Okay, hand on the Bible, do I? He's the leader of our military. He's the leader of our nation. I voted for him every single time. I've supported him since 2015. Yes, I burned my MAGA flag, but what does it say here? How does everyone in America get their country back from all these left and right psycho billionaires? What did I mean? These crazy freak billionaires. I don't care if it's Bill Gates or George Soros. They have too much control over our government. They have too much control over Donald Trump. I love Donald Trump, okay? I voted for him. I support him. Will I be critical of him? Absolutely. Will I be critical of people on the left? Absolutely. So that's perfectly fine if people want to use that as a hit piece from the establishment to knock me out of the Republicans. But I'm sorry, I've been a Republican a hell of a lot longer than old Vivek Ramaswamy. And yeah, I've been critical of Donald Trump. If I'm a person running for office and I can't be critical of my own party or my own president that I voted for, I'm not somebody you want to vote for, okay? So that's just it. What do I not like about Donald Trump? Trying to hide the Epstein list. We got lied to, okay? He did. He lied to all of us. He campaigned on it. He lied to us. He insulted our intelligence. At least now it's come out, okay? So that's kind of nice. I'm sorry, but I don't like seeing tens of thousands of innocent women and children being killed on the eastern side of the Mediterranean with American taxpayer dollars and weaponry. I think it's excessive, and I don't think that's right. And I'm going to be honest. If suddenly there was tens of thousands of women and children being killed like across the border in Canada or in America with American taxpayer dollars and stuff, I'd be grabbing my ARs right now and going to war right now to say, I'm sorry, it looks like an atrocity. It looks wrong to me. I didn't like that either. I just don't. And the other thing that absolutely made me go ballistic with regard to it was when Donald is being advised to put unregulated AI into the big, beautiful bill to where no state has control to push back on that for 10 years? Oh my God, that's game over for the United States government. Of course, the tech bros or anybody that controls AI at that point, and much sooner, will literally have so much power over the American people, the entire government is, our government won't even matter. And the thing that scares the absolute hell out of me, that unregulated AI can happen and Donald's not pushing back on this? Well, what happens if a Democrat gets in 4 years and then they have that power? Did we stop to think about that? Or is it because if that happens, it won't matter who's in office and the United States government and our election system won't matter anymore because it's that much power? Because that's what it looks like to me.
I was going to say that last part might be a little bit more of a threat and a reality, and that is very dangerous. So I didn't like that being in the bill. We needed that bill to pass. I did not like that being a part of it either, though. That's one of those things.
Yeah. Do I support him because he is our president and our nation and our military? I have voted for him 3 times. I left the video up where I put my entire life and risked it endorsing him with my invention, the biggest thing I've ever done in my life for it. I've donated his campaign, and I'm darn proud that I have a Lifetime Achievement Award in education from Donald Trump, and I wear the pin that I've got with the presidential seal when I go out. It's important to me. I believe in our country. I believe in our future. My grandfather's folded flags behind me with an M1 Garand, gosh darn it. And heck, he even said if he gets in, they'll try to kill him, which they've tried to do, the left. So yeah, I'm in favor. But doggone it, you know what I protect and support more than anything on this earth? The people of the United States, because I am one. I want us all to get along across the world. I don't want to see people getting killed for no reason. I want us to have a future and a home because it's we the people. And it's supposed to be a government for the people and by the people. For the people, all the people of Ohio right now because I care, and by the people, me, a normal person, running against the revolting establishment that I'm sorry has been sold out with Vivek and disgusting Democrat Amy Acton. It has to end. And the only way Ohio is staying red, and this is not doom and gloom, and I mean it, the only way Ohio stays red is if the GOP comes around or Vivek respectfully declines and realizes the people actually do hate him and he's being astroturfed. I'm sorry, but we do need to keep Ohio red and keep things marching in the right way.
Casey, we're at the 9th of January, so we have a little under 4 months until May 5th to make your case. So I wanted to, like I said, get to know you a little bit, see what you had to say about all these things, let you respond to some of the tweets and the criticisms and so forth, because that's part of politics.
I'm on it. I'm a real person, you know, and I was a normal person back then. I didn't have as much of a voice, and us normal people were screaming, we're crying, we're trying to have a future, and we're going to say and do things like that. That's normal. I'm not a politician before that. I didn't have people advising me to, hey, look at the over window, do this, don't counter signal. None of that BS. The only thing I cared about are people in the future. So yeah, we're screaming. And Washington and our government, our politicians need to take that to heart and be actual human beings again. That's why I'm here fighting and running against Vivek in the Republican primary for Ohio governor.
I'd love to talk to you another time about the Omega car. I'm not a car guy, but I'm fascinated by that too. And it was kind of cool you did that with Tucker.
Yeah, and I even did a watch company. I prototyped a watch that meets NASA requirements. So hopefully I can build the watches for the NASA Artemis missions. And we don't just give that to the Swiss watches. Wouldn't that be nice? But anytime, I'm honored to be here.
That'll be a fun conversation too. Thank you, Casey Putsch. I appreciate you. Thank you. All right, there you go. That's Casey Putsch running for governor against Vivek, and you heard it. We had a full hour with Casey. No love at all for Vivek. He said if he loses to Vivek in the primary, he will not vote for him in the general, and doesn't want anybody else to either. And says that he would be perfectly fine with Democrats coming over in the Republican primary and our open primary system to vote for him in order to win that primary over Vivek. Now it's in your court. How do you feel about it? We're done for the day because it's already 6 minutes past our time here. But if you're in the chat, stay there. Stay there. I very much want to hear what you have to say about this. there was a lot of stuff there. I wanted to get some specifics. What do you know about the budget? What do you think about the budget? You want to run this state, you've got to know about these kinds of things. How are you going to solve education? What are you going to do to generate economic growth, and so on and so forth? I wanted to ask all of those questions to see where he is, what the plan looks like, so that you can have a real idea. We've had Vivek on, and I'll have him on again soon. But I wanted you to get a real idea of a guy who's campaigning as a true grassroots outsider, non-politician, car guy who is just, we the people and fed up. Now you've met him. Now I want to know what you think of him. We're going to close the show here, but I want you to stay in the chat, and I also want you to because you can leave the comments after the show. Everybody that's in the chat right now. Really appreciate all of the stuff that I'm seeing there. I haven't had a chance to interact with you much today because we had back-to-back guests. We had Max Miller on earlier. If you missed that, Congressman Max Miller, who voted for the expansion of the continuation or the extension of the Obamacare COVID era subsidy expansion. We had him on, and then we had on Casey Putsch for an hour. So it's been very, very busy. So to the folks in the chat room, you guys are amazing. I see a nice crowd of people watching live. I know there's going to be a few thousand people watching later today by the time this is all done today. Share this. That's the only thing that I implore you to do. Share this. Okay? First of all, give me a thumbs up if you watch today's show. And if you're watching it on video right now, look down there, see the thumbs up button, slam that button for me. Then click follow to follow me. Then most importantly, subscribe and share this with other people so they can hear Casey Putsch, so they can hear from Max Miller and his answer to all of these things. And then please get the comment section going too. The chat is separate from the comment section. The more engagement we get under comments, the more the algorithm likes it and says, okay, people are into this conversation. Then they'll push it out to some other people to get them involved in the conversation. You know the drill. So thank you so much to Congressman Miller for coming on. Again, that was kind of gutsy. I didn't think he would, to be honest with you, because it was a risky thing. He just made that vote yesterday. Back out of our interview. That's going to do it, though. Thank you to Max Miller. Thanks to Casey Putsch. Thank you to the chatters. Thank you to the viewers. Thank you to the donors. Remember, cannot keep this show going without Patriot support. Please find a way. You see it on the crawl below. Find a way to support the show. Hit the Rumble Rants button. Become a monthly donor if you can. Soon we're going to have subscription options to you, to our locals community. There's going to be a lot of great things happening here, but they can't happen without community support. So please consider doing that. And as always, I send you into the weekend with be well, be safe, and stay free. We're live again Monday. We may be dropping new, but this is where, by the way, make sure you are subscribed to the channel and you have your notifications on. Really, really important, because we may be dropping different and new content on the channel over the weekend. The next live stream won't be until Monday morning, but you may see some new things happening over the weekend too, so make sure your notifications are on. With that, I say, once again, be well, be safe, stay free. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.